Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Leaning In with Ann. This is a live walk and talk that I do every weekday morning. The last few days this week, we've been talking about what I call the Mentor's Creed. The Mentor's Creed is kind of promise, the way that a mentor shows up to support someone else in their walk through whatever it is that they're doing. I'm Ann Ferguson. I'm an author. I am a creator. I'm a friend. Let's get started in anger. I was taught not to show anger. Not a good idea. So this one day, it really surprised me. I was just going to go settle a bill with a gym and get it all taken care of. And I walked across the parking lot. I was just going to sign the document that said I'm canceling my membership. And she was all about, this is 2020. This was COVID. I hadn't been to the gym forever. All of these things. And then they say, oh, and there's an extra month that's going to be charged. And I'm like, no. And then there was like this anger, this rage that came up in me. I did not cuss, but it was very evident that it was not okay. And I was just a mess. I was so mean. I think it's probably the last time I felt really, really mean. I was really, really, really mean. And then I walked out and I wanted to make sure that she understood how mad I was. And I turned around and I walked right back in and all over her. Okay, let's talk about that anger. How many of you were taught that it's totally okay to express anger at any time that you're angry? Anybody? Yeah, anger's really a hard one for me. My brother, we don't know, but he was really explosive as a kid. I'm assuming probably bipolar, but I'm not a therapist. I do not diagnose. It's kind of like, when you're a mom and your kid's like yanking on their ear and they've got a fever, you kind of think they've got something like an earache. It's kind of like that. There was enough experiences that now looking back, I can go, I wonder if that was a thing. Anyway, his anger was explosive and we all hid. And I used to hide up in a maple tree. And I learned that anger was really dangerous and it wasn't okay. And I have learned that that is not true. The problem is that when you try to be a good girl and you try not to be angry and don't express it, you tolerate way more things than what is appropriate. So, when a little bit of anger shows up, it's a really good idea to take a look at it without going blah all over people. Now, I have a trick for this. And it's going to sound really weird, and it's going to sound like she's a little crazy, so just let's go on. I'm just a little crazy. When I was experiencing my divorce, I actually didn't get angry enough at the things I should have been angry about. Gaslighting happened, and I blamed me. And the anger of somebody else trumped anything that I was feeling, so I would swallow my anger. And I didn't listen. Sometimes when we're angry, we need to take a minute and just say, okay, this anger is my friend. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's telling me that something is not gelling with my spirit. There is something that is not okay. It's kind of like a rash. Itch, 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 itch. You can just kind of sit and itch it and never look at it. But then eventually it festers to the point that you've got to look. And if you had looked at that rash kind of earlier, you would have, put a little cream, it's good. So I found myself, especially after my husband left, divorce it tears your soul. And it doesn't matter whose fault it is, it rips you in two. And that's what it was doing. And there were things that would happen and I'd get so angry and I'd go, no, I'm going to be in control. I'm going to manage my life. I'm going to be a good adult and not actually express any emotion or be aware of anything. And what would happen was I would leash out on my kids. Why didn't you pick up that thing? And why didn't you do this? And I would lash out like darts of fire being thrown at people. I was mean. I was kind of nasty. So what I found is that anger, just like all emotion, is energy in motion. It is moving in you. And sometimes it just needs to get out. It's kind of like when you're super sad and you cry. The tears are just water that conducts energy, and it just helps that energy get out. Anger is usually a first emotion to hurt that's underneath. I was at a yard sale one day. I used to love to go to yard sales all over Northern Virginia. I'd go to yard sales. I was at one, and I found a baseball bat. Now, I am not athletic at all, but this baseball bat called to me. It was only $1, and I said, what the heck? I'll just buy this baseball bat. That bat lived under my bed. And I found out that there were times that I just needed to release the anger physically. I just needed to get it out. That's what my expression to that poor little girl was, is I was expressing all of my anger, and I was just discharging. Anger is discharging. I was discharging all over the place. Well, I learned that I can discharge that energy, and I can still remember why I'm angry, but my body had settled down. So there were times where I tell the kids, I need you to go downstairs. I'm going to yell, I'm going to scream, turn the TV up, Mommy's okay. I just need to get some anger out. And so I would take that bat and I would beat the crap out of that mattress. And I would yell and I would scream. Sometimes, by the way, it was at God. It wasn't fair what I was going through. I hadn't done anything wrong. My life was falling apart. My family was in jeopardy. I didn't know how I was going to do anything. And I would yell and I'd scream at him. And guess what? He can take it. You see, God actually understands his character. There is nothing that I can do that actually makes God feel bad. And because of that, he is solid and grounded in his own being, and he can go, oh, she's so angry right now. I would collapse on the floor. I mean, just every ounce of my energy, I would just hit that. Oh, I remember thrashing, just hitting the bed, yelling and screaming, and it's not fair, and why this, and I can't believe he did that, and I would collapse eventually on the ground. And I would feel the Lord just go, I know, sweetheart, I know, come here. And of course, after all the anger, I could just sit there and cry. And it would be let out, and then I could get my head back around me, and I could decide what I was going to do with the thing that didn't feel good, you know? There's a thing called a rage room. So if you don't know what a rage room is, it is so cool. You can throw glass, you can pound appliances with crowbars and do things that no one would ever let you do, just destruction. And it feels so good, because then you can get your head around, what do I need to feel? Is there anger here that I need to address and say, this is done, I will never do this again, this is not okay, and I'm going to put my foot down in an appropriate boundary? Or is this something that I'm mad at myself about and I need to make a change? See, anger is the catalyst for some change that needs to happen. If you squash your anger, you never know what you need to change. So, that little experience with the gym, and I found out that there was so much anger in me. I had a coach who I was also angry with. I had these appointments, and I'm pretty easy to coach because my emotional intelligence and connection is pretty big, so it's kind of easy to coach me. So this one day, I was really, really, really needing that time because I wasn't okay. And he scheduled over the top of me and said, hey, sorry, I'm just not going to be able to make it. And it was a big deal because I did not need to be dismissed that day. And I didn't know how to express my anger to him. Just like, okay, well, thanks. And what I do with my anger is I then retreat, and you don't get any of my time. Shut down, shut my emotions down, shut my thoughts down, shut my feelings down, shut down being near you. I am just not even going there. Because why? Because you make me angry, and I'm not supposed to feel angry, so I'm going to completely retreat. Well, this coach ended up calling me and could feel that retreat in me. And he said, what is happening? And I just kind of heard myself say, I'm just really angry. I'm angry at a lot of things, and I'm angry at you right now. And I was shocked that I said it. And he goes, oh, well, what are we going to do about this? I'm like, there's nothing to do. I mean, I don't trust you now. And I told you that I don't trust men in general, so can't screw the pooch on this whole coaching thing. Trust was a big deal, and I don't have it. And he says, will you give me a chance? I said yes. So there's a little river that's over by where I am, and it's wadeable, and it's not a strong current. And I needed to get outside. This is after the whole explosion on the girl. I had told him about the explosion on the girl. He said, all right, meet me down at the river. So we went down and kind of got away where there was nobody around and picked up rocks, and I yelled and I screamed and I smashed those rocks into the river, yelling and screaming, and he was right there. And what was really interesting is something I'd never experienced before, because I'd never been given permission to express anger, let alone let anybody see me. See, with a baseball bat, nobody saw me. This, somebody was witnessing me, and I was actually angry at him. Weirdest feeling ever. He did something that was really strangely comforting that I had never experienced before. When I would stand and if I turn or I'd bend down to pick up another rock, he would shadow me. So right next to me, he would bend down and he'd pick up. And if I'd rear back to throw, it was like copycatting, but in the best sort of way. Like every single move that I made, he was right there moving with me. I had so much permission. I'll tell you what was actually happening. Whew. Emotion coming up. My mom had passed away about 4 months before this. And part of the grief process is that anger, that it's not fair, why did you leave me stuff? And that's what I felt. And I was able to yell at my angel mother. I was able to just express it literally and release it from my soul. All the things, all the pain, the loneliness, the frustration. And have somebody there witnessing and standing with me in that moment was one of the more healing things I've ever had experienced in my life. I found out that my anger is a friend, and it was okay to just express. So kind of at the end, he looked at me and asked me to express my anger to him, really let him know what I felt. And I said, look, one of the things about me is that most people always think I'm okay because I'm really emotionally regulated, and in general, I see a lot of things and I understand emotions really well. Don't ever assume that I am. Don't assume that I am okay, because you just don't know. I would say 95% of the time I am, but don't ever assume. And he promised me that he would not, and he kept his promise. And I learned that expressing, I am angry right now, and I need to talk to you when you're able to handle that. He was so open. He didn't get defensive. He owned what he did. And he kept his promise to me. And what that did for me is change the narrative in my head. A couple things. Number one, it is appropriate for me to feel angry when someone has mistreated me. I'm going to say that one again because that's a big one for me. You have permission to experience the emotion of anger when somebody has mistreated you. End of story. You have permission. Lashing out, yelling, screaming, not communicating, all that is showing. See, this woman, this poor little girl, I was showing how angry I was. That's like what we've talked about before. Infants, when they're upset, they show you their emotion because they don't have vocabulary. I did not say, this infuriates me. This policy is not okay, and I'm not actually going to participate in it. I do not give you permission to charge my card again. I didn't stay calm. I all over her. And so the communication was awful. And what happens is the energy, like the energy that I put onto that bed with a baseball bat, was the energy that that poor girl received. It was like a blast. So when somebody is really angry with you, you feel like you've just been blasted. You have. Ground yourself when that happens and say, right now, I can't take your anger. I would like to talk to you about what made you angry later. And you exit. You do not have to be in a boxing ring with somebody who is mistreating you. I was mistreating that girl. Did not have to be in the boxing ring with me. Guess what? You don't have to be in the boxing ring with somebody who is mistreating you. Totally acceptable to feel anger, 100%. And it's totally acceptable for you to express that anger. Now, if it's all in you, do something physical. Go run, oh gosh, there was one day I was so mad at Satan. He had been messing with my daughter. He told her a bunch of lies and had her all wrapped up. And I used to go and run at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I dropped my son off at the church youth group and Bible study every morning. And I would drop him off there and then I'd run around the neighborhood. And this one neighborhood, I yelled and I screamed and at Satan and said, you can't have my daughter. You can't have her. So it doesn't matter who it is. You need to just give me a little bit more about that. Doesn't matter who it is, what? That you can be angry with? Does it matter who it is, who you speak to? Yeah, I think so. There are some people that are not emotionally healthy enough to be able to receive what you are angry about, and it just exacerbates it because they don't have emotional vocabulary to talk something through. This gentleman, men who are watching this, I want you to hear me. You doing inner work to understand your emotional responses keeps us women safe. It keeps your children safe. See, what a lot of men think is that they swallow it and just don't experience anger and they're just not going to. They actually, you guys, you vibrate with your irritation and pissosity and everybody does eggshells all around you. And so you doing inner work so that you know what your anger is, so that you know what your emotions are, so that you can actually express instead of show us your emotions, it keeps us safe. You want to do protection? Do really powerful inner work because a man who has totally made peace with himself, that person you can have conversations with. That coach, he owned his shiz, man. He didn't go into shame. He just owned what he had done in the best sort of way. Your boss has been so angry at me and lashed out all over something you didn't do. She had done this several times. Oh, okay. This is where you use the power of the atonement. You know how I create the day? And I go, how do I feel this? So how do you peacefully exist? That is one of those things that you need to do with God and say, I want to feel peaceful and protected and safe. I cannot do anything about the anger that this person has. When somebody has the level of anger that they have coming at you, to say, I hear you, but I'm not hearing you because the level of what you're saying and coming at me with has got me reeling. I would love to have a peaceful conversation so that I can find out what this is about. Now, what you're saying here is that you didn't do. She's done it several times. Part of using the atonement is to find out from God what your role is in this. For example, my daughter was at school and she had a teacher who all of a sudden was yelling and screaming, and you kids are just this and you're that, and you guys are just disrespectful, and she was just crazy. My daughter wrote a note to this woman, and she said, I just want you to know how much you're teaching and what you've taught me has helped me. It was like a language arts class, and she says, because of you, I have decided to be a writer. It was something like that. And she just said, thank you so much for being here every day. She wrote a thank you note when this person did not deserve it. That teacher, it was a Friday, that teacher the next Monday came by her desk, embarrassed and ashamed, and just said, I received your note, thank you so much. And then she just kind of walked away. And she was calmer that day. Well, it was like 3 days later that they found out that this teacher had just been diagnosed with cancer. Sometimes the things that we are angry about have nothing to do with us. So that little girl at the gym, my anger at her, I blamed her, I yelled and screamed at her. She hadn't done anything. She had no idea that my mom had died. She did not know that I was in the anger cycle of grief. She didn't know. So my question for you is, can you use the atonement, use God, and say, what I need to see, Lord, is what do I appreciate, admire, or respect about this woman? That's really hard when you're wounded, and I want to take this literally into the atonement. Christ was emotionally exhausted, physically exhausted, and somewhere he dug deep enough to carry that cross. I don't understand the strength he had. And he stayed in a place of love. If you remember right, when he was in the garden, angels were sent to support him. You can ask for angels to support you. And you can say, this is what charity is. Let's go there and then we're done. Charity is the pure love of Christ. It is not loving like Christ did. It is his actual energetic vibration. He loves us. And that is what charity is. So you can say, I need a portion of how much you love this person. It's so exhausting. It is so exhausting when they are angry and they don't handle their emotional shiz, right? Because what you're dealing with is emotional immaturity. They don't know how to handle emotion. And so they show emotion and expect for somebody else to take care of the emotion. But I would say right now, ask for a portion of the love that God has for this person and say, show me what you see. I want to feel what you feel about this person. I'm wounded. I can't love this person myself right now, but I'm willing to feel. Will you open my eyes to something that I can appreciate, admire, or respect about this person? Can you help me communicate it in a way that would be good? Can you see like a 2-year-old tantrums and you go, oh, they're tired, they need a nap? What is the tantrum about? The problem is it makes you so angry about them. I know it hurts, right? I know. That anger, you need to expel. You need to get it out physically. You need to write it out. And then you can go to the Lord and say, and what would you love me to do about this? I don't want to be a punching bag anymore. I need some appropriate boundaries. What boundaries do I need to have within this space? And I'm going to tell you, it feels like you're giving in to find something that you respect about them. But it is one of the more healing things you can do, I promise, to say, what can I appreciate, admire, or respect about this person? It is not for them. That is for you. Find out what you can appreciate, admire, and respect. Do it with the Spirit, not alone. Do it with the Spirit. And then you need to have a big old conversation with God. And you need to say, I see them for the things that I appreciate, and I'm grateful that you gave that to me. What do I do? Because, Lord, it is not good for my heart and my soul to be angry like this. So, is there another position I need to take? Is there a superior that I need to talk to about what's happening? Because it can be abusive, right? Is there something that I need to change in the way that I communicate? Is there, a lot of times, guys, when somebody is angry and lashing out at you, it is not your fault. It's okay to be angry with them. And it's okay for you to manage your anger so you can have clarity on what to do next. Anger is tricky, but anger is important because it moves you to action. It's not okay to be abused, not even in the workplace. It's not okay. And you can get a job somewhere else if you choose to. You work with God and say, God, what needs to happen? Me leave, they leave, something resolved between the two of us, understanding what has to happen. Anger is something that God has at times, right? Christ cleansed the temple because things were not okay. Things are not okay for you. So, get out your bat, get all that anger out, let it express, do some writing, ask God what to do about it next, but don't make yourself wrong for being angry. Just say, it's okay that I'm angry, and I'm going to do something because the anger is telling me what to do. And if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. I will hear you and allow you to release it from your soul. It's important to have somebody that you can just kind of talk to and get that anger out and then decide what to do. All right. The last couple of days we've done what to do with pain, what to do with fear. Today was anger. Now we're going to get into the good stuff. So tomorrow, I think it's peace. We're going to talk about walking with someone as they experience inspiration and how fun that is. So I will see you tomorrow. Have a super great day. See ya.